If you're looking for exclusive content, please don't look any further than joining the Trap Talk Patreon family. Some of the best reptile keepers in this industry are part of the Trap Talk Patreon family. As soon as you join the Patreon family, you connect to a Discord. You can also tap into an Instagram group chat, connect with some of the most diverse keepers we have in the reptile hobby today. Shout out to my Patreon members and be ready for Trap Fest 2026. It's going to be one of the biggest events yet. Find all information again in the very first link in the description below. And again, thank you so much to all my fellow Patreon members out there. Cheers. Shout out to USARK and all the USARK members. If you don't know what USARK is, do not be ashamed. Simply click on the third link in the description below. Go to usark.org. See what it's all about. See how you could actually protect your own collection whenever a legislation might hit your backyard. You just never know. Things are changing constantly in the reptile hobby, and it's good to know when things are creeping up in your area. So shout out to Phil Goss, shout out to Vanessa, shout out to Jeremy, shout out to all the USARK supporters and teammates out there. Cannot wait to see how much we fight this year to keep our animal rights. And if you're not a USARK member, talk to your fellow keepers and just let them know what USARK's all about, and they're here to protect our animal rights. Shout out to USARK and all the USARK supporters.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Trap Talk Reptile Network, coolest reptile network in the world. This is episode 738. New Bring on the Block recap episodes. Oh, it's a recap. I love the recaps. Not your typical recap. Ryan Young in the building with William Filipek. These two, no joke when it comes to breeding pythons, but man, they have a topic for us that you guys are going to want to listen to. Tap in, so get comfortable, man. And this is your first time listening. Welcome. Do me a favor, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Doing those things in that order, you'll be reminded of every episode released out of the network 7 days a week, okay? You'll definitely be able to catch these Monday night heaters, because it's not just me, it's Big E, Top G in the building. What is good?
How we doing, man?
Another Monday night, bro. Hey, I'm still fired up from last week. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That was a banger.
Yeah.
Got nothing but positive feedback, I'll tell you that much. But what's good, Big E? Happy Monday, my man.
Chilling, man. Off a good week of ending, good weekend. Now I'm off for a few weeks. I get to focus on the animals more, ultrasounding,
All right,
getting these girls going, getting some more, getting shit solidified for the breeding season,
Yeah, so you're in the thick of everything as far as getting shit to go off for you this year. Like pairing's important to you. Like this is the thick of it, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. And so how long are you off from vending till when?
We travel to Tucson March 19th, Arizona.
Arizona? Damn, dog.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, we ain't playing.
Who are you going with?
Alvaro's going, Clover Reptiles.
Oh, shout out to Alvaro, man.
Reptilian Nation's first show in Arizona, so it's gonna be fun, man.
Arizona is like, dude, hella keepers in Arizona, bro. From what I understand, those shows typically do pretty good. And it's cool that you're checking them off state by state, bro. Holy shit, check you out, man. My biggest. Okay, Pomona was huge for me because you were there with me, but I know my heart's really gonna be filled when I see you at a Tinley. That's when I'm like, and I'm gonna
get there eventually.
I'm gonna do a podcast at your booth. I'm gonna have everything cracking at your booth. It's gonna be the booth. Watch. I swear to God, bro. But anyways, hey, good topic on tonight, bro. I gotta tell you, we don't really dive deep on we talk about maintenance feeding, right? But then there's the other end of the spectrum when it comes to overfeeding. And being somebody who hasn't been too focused on my breeding with ball pythons, I feed how I feel like I feed. They're not underfed, but they're definitely not overfed. And I've been to some collections, more that's been like, holy shit, your snakes are massive versus like the smaller side. I'm happy to say I've never been to a collection that has a bunch of underfed animals, but I have seen some collections that are, you look at these snakes and you're like, for sure you're eating large rats, 110%. We're talking like 6,000 gram fucking bangers. You know what I mean? So I'm curious, you know, lifespan wise, what is that doing to the snake like that? I'm, you know, or I have a lot of questions wrapped around it, but I feel like William, it was his idea to do this episode. And it was an honor. And then he told me Ryan wanted to do it. I'm like, I was like, are you pranking me, dude? Like Ryan Young on a Ball Python Monday night podcast. And it's Ryan. Honestly, this dude will talk about snakes or any reptiles, to be honest. I forget about that. So we're in for a good fucking episode tonight, bro. Back to back.
I'm hyped up. I love talking to people that know more than me.
Dude, this is the episode then.
And I know a ton. I mean,
you do.
Guys,
right.
I call myself an OG now.
Yeah, these are triples.
You got Williams, a double OG.
Yeah, easily.
Massive experience at a big facility, his own experience. And then you got triple OG.
Yeah, which is Ryan. Ryan's triple.
I hope he's okay with me calling him that. The last person I called that did not like it.
Oh, well. Ryan give two shits, to be honest. I know he won't be offended. I'll tell you that much.
I respect people that have been doing this for real for a long time. Yeah, and they love it and they do it right. So they have my respect. You know.
And you know, it's crazy. As much as like we always tell, like, you know, everyone's not in this as serious as others, but that's also the same as how we look up to some of these people. Like, you know, to the typical person, yeah, this is just a guy who's been around for a while. But like you said, to me, man, these guys mean a lot. You know what I mean? Because this is my future. Like I'm only 8 years into this game, and these guys have decades into it, especially Ryan, whose whole life changed with reptiles. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of shit that inspires me, is being around people like this. You know what I mean? And the list goes on. That's what makes the reptile game so amazing, is the people you can meet. So yeah, anyways, we're in for a treat. You guys are all appreciating the chat. So do me a favor, man, hit that like button. And I just want to remind you guys, Trap Talk 7 days a week. All right. So Monday through Sunday, you can catch a brand new episode right here on this network, the only network giving you brand new reptile content every day of the week. So go at it. Audio platforms, definitely go at it. If you're more of just a listening type, you don't care about the videos, then don't worry about commercials, man. Head over to any of your favorite audio platforms, and you can listen to any Trap Talk Reptile episodes, all current, of course, and go way back to some of the beginning episodes. So appreciate all the love and support. Appreciate tonight's sponsor, ZoomEd, just shy of 50 years in the game, the leading brand in the reptile industry. Get your next reptile product at ZoomEd. Find the link in the description below. Check out their latest products, my favorite being the Slither Sense. And if you can find any other new products, make sure you go to their website and go to all their social media plugs. Find the link in the description below. Thank you so much, ZoomEd, for your support. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Brett and John over at Jersey Guy Balls. These guys are definitely tapped into the higher end market of the ball python game, but they're doing it right, man. They don't mess around. They invest in the quality, and they're breeding that quality. So don't sleep on these guys. Go follow them on Instagram, and also subscribe to their YouTube, Jersey Guys Balls. Appreciate your love and support. Father-son duo, just killing it in the game. It's amazing to have these guys' support. It really means a lot. Thank you so much, John and Brett. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by PRAGUE MORPHS, my favorite couple in Europe that are just slaying the ball python game, and so much new stuff to come from PRAGUE MORPHS. For now, follow them on Instagram, go to their website, and I'm going to be letting you know soon when that next PRAGUE MORPHS episode is going to be coming here to the Trap Talk Reptile Network. So thank you again, Devin and Trezza over at PRAGUE MORPHS. Again, go to praguemorphs.com, stay up to date on all their current projects. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Clutch, #1 ball python organization app in the game. If you're going to come into this game, you got to come organized, look fresh, look cutting edge, and you can do all that with Clutch. Thank you so much, Clutch, and the entire Clutch team. A lot of new announcements this year coming from Clutch, so stay tuned. Go to their website, try out Clutch free for 30 days, and Amelia will test Clutch's changing the game all around the board. So thank you so much, Clutch. Last but not least, shout out to MORPH Market and MORPH Market Shipping. Save tons of money by simply going to MORPH Market. And also, MORPH Market Shipping will allow you to get your next reptile straight over to your house with the cheapest rates. And also, shout out to anyone out there who's tried out MORPH Market Live. Give me your feedback in the comments below. Emilio has not scheduled his MORPH Market Live yet. Oh, man.
I'll be there for yours, bro.
Oh, yeah, about that. No, thank you, MORPH Market. Appreciate everything.
And I'll be watching. I'll be watching the other guys. And I
yeah, for sure. Dude, I've been seeing a lot of cool guys scheduling lives, and I'm like, dude, yes, that's awesome. So, guys, go check all that out on Morph Market. Again, really excited for tonight. I'm ready to get this episode started. You ready, Biggie, or what?
Oh yeah.
All right, that's what I'm saying. Let's go, guys. Do what you gotta do to get your mind right, and do what you gotta do to stay hydrated for episode 738. The number keeps increasing, and the fire keeps on burning. New breed on the block recap. Ryan Young, William Filipek coming at you right now. Let's go. Choo.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasters?
Yes.
Man,
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
exclusive. Oh,
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
and we're live, episode 738. Welcome, Ryan Young and William Filipek. Very first Monday night. What's up, boys?
Hey, man. how's it going?
What's up?
Thanks for being here, dude. William, honestly, pro-choice, man. This is a great topic.
Hey.
You go ahead.
I have to clarify something. Ryan didn't want to be on. I had to beg and plead him. I said, "Come on, Ryan, please."
You didn't have to. You didn't have to beg. You just asked me if I would. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll do
Yeah,
it.
I had to twist his arm a little bit. No, I'm just kidding.
Truth is somewhere in the middle, or what?
Right.
I feel like it. Yeah, I really do. But either way, he's here. That's my boy, Ryan. Thank you so much. William, kick us off, dude. So the importance of tonight's topic. Let's hear it.
Well, I feel like there's this like narrative that gets pushed, or this idea that constantly feeding your ball python to get it to this make-believe size that people have in their head is like some sort of like be-all end-all, to the point where like if it doesn't weigh this much, I'm just not even interested in it, even if it has whatever genes it is. And it just this, I don't know, this perspective of size that has only ever been a ball python thing, and no other python, virtually no other animal outside of maybe leopard geckos I remember used to be big on the size thing. So, yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, and obviously we'll get Ryan's take and Emilio's. From what I can see, dude, obviously there are ways of not only getting your male quicker to breed, but there are ways of getting your females to a size where you could get 12, 13, 14, even 15 egg clutches. And these are coming from obviously massive size females, which I don't know how much that relates to some of the other stuff we see, Ryan, in the chondro game, where you see some of these guys on an average get 20, 25 egg clutches, and their females are fucking massive. So can breeding actually get you to get more production? And if that's the case, isn't that why people are doing it, to get more production?
I mean, I would assume a lot of people's goals are that. The chondro and ball python thing is hard to equate because chondros are supposed to be a tiny, tiny species.
Right.
And ball pythons, there are really big ones that come out of the wild. So they are, capable of getting large. They're just not supposed to do it in, 2.5 years, 3 years.
Right.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, the worst thing, with the ball pythons is all the feeding charts and those scales. It needs to be this big by this weight, or it's unhealthy and stuff like that. And You know, I mean, I see why people try to make those so people have an idea where their snake's at in a percentile, I guess, but it does more harm than good in my opinion. But
I think we went away from focusing on maturity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's only with ball pythons. So I'm with William. I've in the 20 years I've been into reptiles, mainly ball pythons, I've never seen another species where we are talking about weight. He's 100% right.
Well, there was a lot of money on the line back in the day, and so when people realized that little tiny males would breed, I think it more started with people wanted a minimum weight that they could breed a female, and then they wanted a minimum weight they could breed a male, and once those weights were kind of known, and then honestly since then they've actually been reduced. You know, when I first got into this, people were like, you needed like a 500 to 800 gram male and a 1,500 gram to 2,000 gram female, and now I see people breeding 1,000 gram, 1,200 gram females, and males that are 300 grams. So even those things are being pushed further down. But
Speaking,
I mean,
go ahead. But I have a question about what you just said.
yeah, no, I think we're seeing a product of domestication in some regards, which is ironic because I have never got a young tiny male to breed. Never. No matter how many times I've tried, it doesn't matter. My males are always 4 or 5 years old when they start breeding. So.
Oh, well, back in the day, we had guys saying that you could breed them at 6 months. I've never been able to do that. I breed my males at a year, 750 grams or so, 600 to 700 grams. But my question to you, Ryan and William, because you just touched on something I wanted to really talk about, is just like we're risking males early, could we be risking these females at 1,000 and 1,200 grams because we see follicles early? Could we be risking depressing and stunting these females' future to try to get that low probability of getting a clutch early to chase that money?
Yeah.
Could we be doing that?
I mean, I think you could. The cases that I know of personally where people bred really small females, they were actually like pretty old girls that just never got that big. I don't know anybody who's bred really young females really small. Personally, I'm sure people have done it, but I can only speak to the cases I know of personally. And those were back in the day, people would have, some of the imports were really tough to establish. And so that you'd have some of these imports that were, 3, 4, 5 years in captivity, and they were still only like 1,200 grams, and eventually they would breed. No idea how old they were, before they came in. So my experiences with the little females is that they're usually older when they produce. But again, I don't make it a habit of trying to push my females to breed. So I don't know. I can't speak on that particular side of it myself.
So my theory behind a lot of this is, so I think you get two cases, and I've heard Ryan mention it, but I think there's two scenarios where if you breed them young, I think you shorten the duration of time of how long they're able to breed compared to, and I don't think it's a black and white thing. I've had a bumblebee female that I've bred 9 years in a row since the time she was 2, and she bred every single year. It didn't stop. And but I think I don't think that's an exception, I think, to the rule. I don't think that's something that usually happens. But then I think there's the other one, like what Ryan is, and I typically do now, is you wait till almost that 4-year mark, and then you breed them, but then you get a lot, I think a longer span of breeding, and that's only if. So I think it's also if you breed them, if you grow them like weight wise, if you want to go off weight, if you grow them to that 1,500 grams in 2 years, you can get a clutch. But if you take that 1,500 grams and you do it the way like me or Ryan would do, maybe wait 3 to 4 years, probably closer to 4 or more,
Yeah.
Five.
You're 5. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some females. They're 6, 7 years old and still haven't bred. You know, I see. You know, the one thing I will say with ball pythons is typically because you have such a large. Most people, even Ryan, I'm sure you still have probably a higher percentage ball pythons compared to other than your green pythons, I guess. But you start seeing just anomalies where you get like some females want to wait till they're older. Some will do it young. But those also, the younger animals are the ones that will eat more vigorously or will eat bigger prey, grow faster, get to that reproductive size. And I've seen this among a bunch of pythons. Burmese pythons breeding at 18 months old, retics breeding at 18 months old, ball pythons. Shoot, I even think there was a dude in Indonesia did it with a Timor python. I mean, I've seen it, you know, among a bunch of Maclots, I believe. I mean, I think it's just how much you're willing to put into them in the beginning, and then, you know, you may not get 10 years out of them. You know, I have kind of a theory. I wonder with the green pythons, you know, if you get your green python at 500 grams at 18, 20, or 24 months old, could you breed it then? Even though it's 2 years old? But here, and this is what I tell people. In your head, you immediately go, absolutely not. There's no way you couldn't do it. But I think the hobby tends to get fixated on what we usually do instead of thinking about other options or other things that could have happened. You know, like when you hear us talk about cycle of feeding ball pythons, you know, I used to be one of those weekly feeders too, where you fed every single week. And then you hear someone like Ryan, Nick, or someone talking about cycle feeding. Mm-hmm. And it's such a hard concept to grasp when you're so used to, like, you know, the big ball python breeders feed weekly. And you just, oh, well, that must be what I have to do. Well, when you realize that, well, a ball python is a python, if you treat it like a python, you get very similar python behaviors that you would see in other stuff. And you get some, you still get some oddballs. Like I still got occasional oddballs that just, you know, they might skip food, even though they're in like that duration of time I would feed them, you know. But I think that goes more if they're probably more sedentary than most pythons. So they probably just, that cap's probably a lot quicker because they're not burning the calories, say like a scrub or a, you know, carpet or something like that.
Well, I mean, Ryan, you've been around long enough, and so have you had, William, to know that like chondros, if you try to breed a female year after year, you're going to get how many years out of her at best? Not much. Like she will end up crashing at a certain point. So you really can't really pull that off with a chondro. I'll tell you that, right, Ryan?
Well,
yeah,
I wonder.
Very few seem to go. You know, you get 3 clutches out of a chondro, it's like, okay, everything after this is borrowed time.
Gravy, yeah.
I think the most I've gotten was 5 or 6 out of one.
Yeah.
And the fecundity starts to drop after a lot of clutches.
What were you gonna say, William?
But I wonder though, like, so I don't know what the general size is. I don't know how this is becoming a chondro show, but I don't know what the general size is for a green python nowadays compared to what it was 15 years ago. It was what, 1,500 grams. You know, even if it's 1,000 grams, if that snake would have bred at half that size, you know, 2 or 3 years ago, because I don't know the growth rate. I don't know how fast people are growing these snakes in comparison. You know, I would, especially if they're lower on the food chain, I figured they would breed pretty similar to, like, not exactly, but have a faster reproductive cycle, similar to like Antaresia, since they're lower on the tropic level, as Nick would say.
Yeah, no, I can only speak for my chondro breeding experience, and that I've never had any luck breeding young males or young females.
Do you grow? But you grow yours slower though, right? Compared to other
I grow them slow, but like they're in the size range of a sexually adult animal, typically at 3 years old. But most of them
I'm talking about people who get them in that 500-600 grams at 2 years old. I've heard of a few monsters.
Yeah, but I'm saying mine are 3 years old and still won't breed, even though they're the size they could.
Oh,
so
okay.
Maybe if you pushed it more than that, you could. But I don't know. I guess I don't see the necessary, you know.
Yeah. Well, you get so much shit. At some point, you get so much shit going on. Why would I push something if I got, you know, a dozen other things to breed? This is more like newer people who have smaller collections tend to be, you know, well, new breeder on the block. Those guys are typically, you know, they want to breed yesterday.
Right. but also these new breeders are only going by what they're being told. It's kind of like what you said, like they don't know better. And I know I didn't even know what the fuck food cycling was until I had Trap Talk going. And even then I don't know how many years it took me to grasp what food cycling was. Like I tried to implement it, but I was so used to just feeding weekly where I would get thrown off, and it would confuse me so much where I would say, fuck it, I'm just going to feed every week. But it is something that you're just taught. And again, I feel like with ball python, somebody just commented, and I remember this being said on this show a long time ago, ball pythons were being sold for $1 a gram. So think about the whole, side of that side of size wanting to be important to the ball python. If they're being sold for $1 a gram, what the fuck? Don't you want to make the biggest ball pythons possible? And then how much of that kind of went into the next generation? Go ahead, Biggie.
I wanted to mention what I do here. What I do here is I feed weekly. I don't feed big meals. The meals that I feed are not going to leave a lump. They're not going to leave an uncomfortable animal that is like what the hell did I just eat? But I do feed weekly. Do they all eat weekly? No. But getting back to the breeding side, throughout my 20 years, I always tried to breed a female at her third winter. Now that I have an ultrasound, this last season, when I saw a female, even a little younger, at 1,200 grams with follicles, I tried those girls out. What I can tell you guys is that was probably a mistake. Those girls, the probability of them going was super low. They reabsorbed, and a lot of them, it depressed their rhythmic feeding, and they're not doing that well. So I'm going to stop that myself. I was chasing, and I'll admit that. And I was trying different things that I was being told by others that work. For me, it didn't work, and I'm going to stop it right now.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's what I'm doing.
A lot of the feeding stuff, like I learned over the years, a lot of it was a numbers game. When I was first doing the ball pythons, man, I was feeding them. I was trying to grow them. And it was so frustrating because some of them would eat great, grow fast, and most of them would become picky. And it was really, really frustrating. And there was a financial aspect to it. I'm not going to sit here and act like there wasn't. You've invested money. You're trying to make that money back. You're trying to grow these animals. It wasn't until my collection got basically bigger than my rat breeding operation that I had to start deciding, okay, who am I going to feed to breed this year? And you basically had to start allocating resources. But what I realized when I started doing that was the ones that don't get fed all the time, they always eat every time. And I was talking with Tracy over the years and at VPI, and we would laugh, and she would go, yeah, she goes, the ones that are never picky are the ones that don't get raised fast. And I go, man, I don't know what's up with that. And we just kind of discussed it. And she goes, yeah, these snakes are designed to eat a lot over a short period of time and then fast for large portions of the year. And she goes, when we raise them in captivity, we wreck them. We feed them, and they're supposed to have a resource that disappears. Right. And so they learn growing up that I can be a picky eater because there's going to be another rat next week. And so if you raise them where they don't know if there's going to be a rat next week, guess what? They're not picky like that.
And also, go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
They'll fly out of the tub and try to rip your face off because they don't it's been a while. So they're like, wow, I better eat this resource.
One of my worst bites last year was from a ball python right on the lip. Just lashed out, grabbed me in the lip. I was God. Shit.
Oh, God. I always feared that. I got the upper racks, and some of those are fucking the sub-adults that just always want to eat. And so if I'm not careful enough and it's eye level, dude, they'll come right out and go right over the tub sometimes, dude. I've gotten pretty close, and I'm all like, damn, I just don't have time for a bite to the face by a ball python. I really don't.
Wow, that's a pretty bad one on the lip.
Yeah, I can share an experience that solidified my belief in raising them differently and basically how I do it now. And that is, I got, early on I was doing the normal VPI snow ball python project. And I had the chance to get lav snow stuff. And nobody had made a lav snow yet. And I was like, man, this is kind of redundant. I felt like putting food resources into those double hets I was raising I already had adult female double het for the regular snow. And so I basically just kind of asked them off, so to speak. And they were like 3 years old and probably, I don't know, 800 grams. And then Wes produced one, a Lav Snow. And I was like, oh, shit, that's the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And so, man, I stuck those females. I took them from my baby room, put them in the adult room in CB70s, and I started feeding them. And those females never refused food. And by the following season, the smallest one was like 2,800 grams. And every one of those females laid like 8 to 12 egg clutches for their first clutch.
Jeez.
And so I was like, man, there is something too. If you don't wreck them as babies, they will all be amazing eating adults. And, you know, so I kind of shoot for a 3-year-old that's 800 grams. Then I
kind of wonder too. So like with and maybe Ryan can, you know, put or bring more to it, but you know, like because I've had like a few phone calls of people asking like if you know, how big is this 1 or 2 year old male or something, because they needed a new male because they told me their male ended up just doing the crash and burn. You know, they just quit eating, and then just, you know, ended up kicking the bucket on them. And I kind of wonder too sometimes, especially with males, typically with males, with, you know, since that's the one that most people want to breed real quick. That's the one people, you know, probably put the most money in. Those are the ones I typically hear about, that like everyday feeding, you know, for, you know, their first year of life. I kind of wonder, you know, if I know with the whole digestive tract of a python, I think it has to be a certain size prey item to really trigger a lot of those like metabolic changes they go through. I think they still go through them with smaller prey, but I don't think it's quite as taxing on the body. But I think it still performs some sort of taxing or causes some sort of taxing on the animal, or you're putting that animal through. So I wonder, by doing that, if that's really that animal, kind of like what we see with diamond python syndrome. When you keep a diamond python in a typical python room, after a while it starts, you know, it burns out and essentially just keels over dead. I wonder if we do the same thing, where if their digestive tract they've evolved to have for millions and millions of years, and you constantly pump it, if it just, you're petering them out sooner, so they ended up, you know, essentially kicking the buckets a lot sooner than they normally would. And I think there's also, and I'm sure there's other variables like scents, like, you know, because most people do feed so often, they got females going year round. So you always have females that have hormones that are going on. And especially when you get those males that are more, you know, willing breeders or stronger breeders that are probably more interested in breeding than eating, I'm sure that's a factor too. But I kind of wonder if that's a reason why we have so many issues, not so many issues, but you tend to hear about issues with males. And I can tell you from big breeders, there would be like a decent percentage of males you could just write off that would end up dying back in the day, because we were so concerned about feed, breed, feed, breed. And then, you know, eventually that male just, you know, crashed at some point.
The weird thing is, I think ball python males in the wild are bigger than the females.
I think most pythons.
They are not the smaller sex.
Yeah.
The thing we've done to them in captivity is completely and utterly goes against their, you know, what they're supposed to be.
That's wild. Well, because we've got to think of this too, right, guys? Like, I mean, I haven't heard of a lot of guys, but I do know at least 2 guys who do this whole get them to 6 months and they could breed thing, right? And it's funny that you mentioned that the males are bigger than the females, but like, what's the likability of these eating that frequently in the wild? From what I understand, the food source isn't that available for them, just, you know, first and foremost. And I'm always trying to think like, well, you know, again, I know I can't mimic the wild, but I like to feed somewhat like close enough to where it's not like the opposite, like the wild. And again, I still feed way more than probably I need to, but I just know for a fact that what we feed here in captivity is the fucking pinnacle opposite of what they actually experience in the wild. And you know, that's the fact, you know?
Well, yeah. I wonder again if this has to do with something like, especially with ball pythons, they seem to be, no dig at them, but they seem to be the least interested in their species. As far as like,
Well, yeah,
they
'cause
can
it's
care
more-
less of what a wild ball python looks like, does, and the way
Yeah.
they act in the wild.
Right.
And there's this misconception that all snakes look like shit in the wild, and I think that's a misconception, because if they all look like shit, that wouldn't be very advantageous, and to always look like shit in the wild. These animals, yeah, there's times where there are, rather it's elements or just really rough seasons. But I think more often than not, a lot of these pythons are actually in pretty damn good shape, and we just assume, oh, they're wild. That animal must look like shit, so it needs to look twice that size or twice that girth or whatever. So I think there's this disconnect with the wild animals that we immediately assume that just because it's wild, it looks like shit or it's in bad condition.
Yeah, no, they look like how they're supposed to look.
Yeah.
Is the sad part.
Life is hard outside the box in the elements, right?
Yeah.
They have to hunt. They have to deal with the elements. It's completely different.
With I try to use other comparisons. Like, we literally don't do this with lizards. We don't do this with mammals. You never look at that 400-pound gorilla and go, that animal looks underweight in the wild, or that 500-pound tiger looks underweight in the wild. It's not to say those animals can't be, but more often than not, those animals are probably in pretty good shape. And then you just occasionally see the rough ones. Or the people who did base a lot of those shitty wild-caught animals were people who were getting imports back in the 90s and 2000s, where those animals were sitting in like a fucking box for months at a time with no water, dehydrated,
duck shed,
just look like shit. And then we just base, oh, that must be what they all look like in the wild. Without
that's a stigma for wild caught. Period. If anyone mentions wild caught in this hobby, it's ill. It's like, ugh, it's not a sought after thing nowadays. People are afraid of wild caught shit, and they should be. They should be 110%.
Right. Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this, because where should a male be at 6 months old weight wise? I'm gonna give you my opinion, and it's gonna be with my experience and kind of business oriented as well. But you guys go ahead, tell me where a 6 to 8 month old male should be, or you're happy where it's at that age.
I don't know, 125 grams, 150 grams.
Go ahead, William.
Mine's probably not too much different. I've never weighed a ball like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I have to look at snakes I've gone to sell, and then like, how much did they weigh? How much is
I could even answer that, but that's because me and Amelia are more ball python breeders than you guys are.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you guys this: at 8 months old, my ball python needs to be 400 to 500 grams.
Yeah.
For my breeding purposes, and that's nice, smooth, small meals once a week. And I'm gonna tell you guys this: if a male at that age is 125 to 200 grams in this market, you'll never sell it.
Oh yeah, no, it affects my sales big time. I know,
1,000%.
no question, it affects my sales. I cannot get over how people are like, oh, it's way too small, it must be unhealthy. And I'm like, look, I've done you a favor, you just don't realize it, because it'll always eat for you, because it doesn't understand constant resource availability, so it will
But you know what? Well, hold on. I've never had a male turn off food for me like that ever. But again, I don't push them. I'm a once a week type of feeder for my males, and I feed on the lighter side. I'm just under what Emilio says. I for a long time I measured the weight of my snakes as they were growing, and my mark was about 250, 275. My males in about 6 months, and to be honest, I was trying to get closer to what some of these other guys were doing. But in my head, I'm like, how the fuck are you doing that unless you're feeding every day? And I even tried the whole multiple days a week to feed. Fuck that. It's way too much work, first and foremost. And not only that, production wise, like, I'm good. It's a lot. But then in my head, I'm like, dude, I'm feeding consistently once a week, and I'm not even close to what the, weight preference size is for this thing to breed. I mean, I'm also okay with that, but I'm like, in my head, I'm like, how the fuck are these guys doing it at 6 months? That's fucking insane.
I can't.
Yeah,
I'll admit to you guys one thing. On my 4th year, okay, I was listening to someone, and I tried that shit, and the animal died.
Oh shit! Killed the
Yeah.
fucker.
It died, and I never did it again. So every animal, every boy at a year old, 700 grams, he'll get a female or two, and that's it, and very limited. So it's always worked for me.
Yeah, look, I'm by no means am I sitting here trying to say that I know best or, that I'm just going off my own personal. I'm not in a hurry to raise them anymore. I used to be when I was, that was more of my focus. And I've discovered now that most of them for me don't breed till they're 4 to 5 years old anyways, no matter how hard I try. So I don't even bother to push them because.
No, and I want you to know that in no way is this any type of critique or saying anything against
your
your.
own.
It's
No,
not.
I listen.
I want you to know
I'm
that.
fully
All
aware
respect,
that
man.
like, in the ball python realm, I've been doing it a long time, but I have not had near the amount of clutches that a lot of these guys get clutches in a year that outnumber what I've done my whole career. So.
And Ryan, think of this. Think of the people who've been in this for a while, and this is all they've done is ball pythons.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? Their mindset is completely fucking different and 180 from how you look at things with all the different species that you've bred. Like the ball pythons, bro, there's a certain way you go about things. If you want big production, if you want fast production, you feed the fucking living shit out of them. And there's no way around it. That's why these people are getting what they get. But at the end of the day, is it okay? Like, is that kind of the right thing to do? That's what we're talking about now. Like, how much do you care about the life of this animal? And the thing is, ball pythons, bro, it's turn and burn, dude. These guys, these guys get females to give them one clutch, maybe two, gone. That female's gone to the next one, dude. They don't stick around.
That's what I'm saying, though. When I hear some of these people and they kind of justify it by saying, "Oh, they do fine," but then they don't ever they sell them after 2 to 3 years, and it's like, well, then how do you know that animal's still alive? I know they don't keep track of the customers.
I get postcards every Christmas.
Right? Yeah. Right.
Well, the wild side of this is that ball pythons hold the longevity record for pythons, and it's not even close.
It was the zoo right by me had a 62-year-old female that laid a clutch of eggs. Clutch of eggs.
That's amazing.
Well, it was 62 years in captivity, and I don't think, and it was an adult.
Yeah, it was an adult when they
So
got
that's
it.
probably an 80-year-old snake, 70,
And you know what I bet
80-year-old
that
snake.
thing did? I bet it fasted for more than half the year and only ate every once in a while, and that sucker's... But again, that animal was just for zoo purposes. It wasn't a breeder, and I fully grasp that. You got to, if you want to breed, you got to feed, but I don't think you just need to feed quite to the extent of what other, most people do. I think one thing I heard some ball python people getting out of it, getting in colubrids saying that ball pythons were too much work, and I go, what are you doing with a ball python that makes it so much work?
Shit.
I'm glad feed mine for half the year, and it doesn't get much easier than that.
Yeah,
so I think maturity is super important in everything else, but it's also important in ball pythons. Yes, you could do all the right things and get it to a certain gram weight, whatever it is. But me and MJ talk about it all the time. There's males that won't even look at a female at a year old.
Yeah.
No matter what the weight is, right?
Yeah.
So that male is just not ready. It's just not ready. And then you do it with the females as well. And I don't know, man. I think people are being conditioned to try to get that ROI as quickly as possible.
1,000%. That's ball pythons, bro. That's
and you know what, man? There's some inconvenient truths that I feel like they're gonna get from this podcast. I think people need to slow down. I'm gonna slow down for sure. It's just we have to do it, Yeah,
because some of those bigger guys who have like those males they feed for 5 days out of the week or whatever. Who knows how many backup males they get? Because I have a sneaking suspicion out of like a group of males, they probably have a percentage of them that just die off or or just fail to thrive after a while because of that feeding regimen, if you will. And I think they don't tell their customers, if you have like 4 or 5 males for one project, expect 1 or 2 of them to either die and not do well or just not want to end up not doing well as far as just eating goes for you. So, and I think when a new person gets in here and they get that one big male that they bank their whole year on and they feed the shit out of it and that thing just, it rolls on you or it just doesn't end up breeding that well for you, or whatever the case might be. I think there's
So
things
you
that
guys
aren't
think
getting
it's
pulled.
that? Like, because I've never lost a male. I came close once, but I've never lost one.
And I
have.
wonder,
Is it that common?
What? No. Well, here's
I've lost
why
one.
I think
I lost one and it hurt.
Yeah, me
Well,
too.
this is why I think what Ryan does, because he's seasonally, and I haven't lost a male in a couple of years since I've switched ball pythons to keeping them seasonal, because they're not constantly smelling a female going through their
Stressing them out.
follicular development, so they're not
Yeah.
always, worried about breeding. They have a time period where everything's shut off, and they can either worry about eating, essentially resting, where they're not doing anything. So I think there's a lot of merit in what Ryan says, because I think that's why we see it now, where there is, because the reason ball pythons you feed so regularly, it's not that you can't seasonally breed ball pythons, it's just you don't do it because you feed every week, so they constantly have a full tank, so that female's just going off whatever other outwardly triggers that might cause it, temperature, tub changes, enclosure, or whatever, and just some sort of environmental change at that point, rather than mostly food motivated, compared to what Ryan does, where he hits them with a little bit of everything in a condensed period of time. So
Do your males refuse food during the breeding season?
No, mine usually don't.
Mine don't. Mine eat.
Yeah. But you do go through a period where you don't feed them, though, right?
Oh, yeah. No, they go
Exactly.
months.
These guys don't. I'm talking about they never.
We never stop. It's never stop. It's like changing water. Like it's always weekly. You know what I mean?
My feeding, a lot of my feeding is literally based on my rodent availability, and I'm my rodent availability person. So if my rodents, if I have a boom in my rodents, which happens like probably every 6 to 8 weeks, that's when my males get fed. That's it. When things are tight, they don't get food. The girls get food, and not all the girls. Only the girls that I slate to breed are going to get food.
I tell people that too. Like that's why some of the females I've kept and haven't bred for a long time don't really cost me much money, is because I'll give them like a retired breeder rat once in a blue moon, and it just coasts until I decide to feed them again. That could be like months later.
Oh yeah, no. Typically after a female lays, I'll feed her a few times till she looks like she didn't lay, and then it might be 6 months, 7 months before she eats again.
Yeah.
So for me, my males that go off food, it's typically at the end of the season when there's most of the girls are about to lay, or they're ovulating, or there's the most pheromones in the room. But at that point, they typically bounce on once everything breeding season gets done with. But that's what I've seen here. If a male goes off earlier, I have to be careful with that male.
That's wild. Like I said, I had one male that did his best to die one time. I saved him, but and he never did it again. I've bred him many years now. He's still with me, and he's fine.
For me, I don't breed a male if it's not eating. Like even if it's breeding and then that next meal it skips, he's not getting paired until he eats again. And that's kind of like my safety rule with fucking letting my males breed. Because I've only had one male that I put to like 3 females, and he went to work. And there was one time where he skipped a meal, went to work, and then he never ate, and then he died.
Yeah, well, I mean, back in the day, they used to tell us to keep them lean and mean.
Yeah.
600, 700 grams. I want my males to be 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 grams now, because I think that protects that male long term.
Oh, I think you're definitely
what do you guys
right.
think about that?
A lot of the times, one of my best males is my biggest male. And I think to myself all the time, I shouldn't be keeping these males this small. They should be getting big. And I think it definitely, and he could handle every female all year. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
But the little ones can burn themselves out too much.
Oh yeah. But earlier on, we were taught to keep them small.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
Well, I don't think we were taught to keep them small. I think what happened was people were like, you can keep them small. And then there's benefits to that, i.e. cage space, i.e. prey size, cheaper prey, and then minimum, everybody wants, the reality is in this hobby, most people want to do the minimum. And if you can get something for, 300 grams does the job, even though 1,000 grams would do it better, they're still going to, because a 1,000 gram male is going to need a lot bigger enclosure than a 400-gram male.
Mhm.
That's why
I
I keep
think-
my male. That's why I'll typically try to keep my males on the smaller side. But I'll admit it, mine's mainly for space reasons. But I also don't put my males to a bunch of different females. I typically have more males than probably most people do because I don't really need to have like one male going to like 5 to 8 females or something like that. Unless it's a bigger, older male. I do have big males, but those males could be damn near 10 years old, something or maybe more.
Yeah, I
But then
usually
again,
have
also,
multiple males for every project.
How important is that male to you when you finally get it to 1,000 grams? You know what I mean? I'm as far as anyone who's really kind of staying on current projects, because that's the thing also with ball pythons. Like these morphs that are getting hit stale out pretty quick now. Like and nothing really stays hot for too long in the ball python game. So again, I think to get a male up to 1,000 grams, it's going to take at least 2 years.
Well,
right?
I guess it depends on what your long-term game is. Me, at this point, I kind of look at the ball pythons as they're just, and it was something Ryan said many, many moons ago on NPR back in the day. I remember hearing you talk about, at the end of the day, when the shit settles, pretty snakes will sell. And
I agree.
We were so worried about the next new hot thing that I think sometimes we'll sacrifice quality or what we deem quality, because obviously that can be subjective, I guess, to every person. So for me, I do a lot of puzzle stuff or tri-stripe stuff is my secondary project I do quite a bit of. So what I do with those animals is I'm keeping stuff based off a look rather than genes. I will add genes, obviously. I'm not just not adding genes, but I'm worried about a particular look I like. Because if there's one thing I've seen in other species that I can see ball pythons doing at some point is when, as Ryan would say, when the shit settles and the next trend's over, what's going to be that sells? And typically it's going to be pretty snakes.
Something visually. Yep.
Because, like a lot of things, like I've seen like the ball pythons where like first in the early 2000s, it was new mutations, new genes, that's the new hot thing. And they would fetch this big money. And then at some point, someone, I guess it was Kevin, had the idea, let's combine these traits. And then that was the new big thing. And then it was like, well, how many genes can we add into a snake? And then it became recessives was a thing, adding any sort of recessives to something, then multi-recessives, quads, and then continue. You can see the train. Now it's like adding complete dominance back into it.
No. Now it's a bunch of bins that are stacked up that have question marks all over them.
Right. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Hey, that dude was producing mud. He didn't even know what the hell it was.
He has no idea.
Dude, it got really bad. It got so bad he stopped doing the videos.
Oh yeah, because
it was so bad.
The sad part is most of the base mutations are prettier than most of the combos, and then the more, at least from what I've seen, the more you stick in there, they all just kind of start looking the same.
Yeah.
And you start getting over 3 genes, and if they're not complementary genes, then man, it just, I don't know, you kind of lose the.
We sound alike on a lot of things, man. I've been saying I love the 2 and 3 gene animals the most. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Ryan. Just to mention, like the more simpler you could go with these things, the better quality it almost looks. This is just one of the examples that you posted, I think, a few weeks ago, actually a little bit while ago last year. But exactly what we're talking about, man. Nick Mutton said it all the time. Like, people who keep ball pythons don't keep them for the wild type aspect. Like, it's not about that anymore. It's the exact opposite. But throughout time, they all look the same in the rack. It's so crazy that you said that, Ryan. It's so true.
Yeah, I noticed it back in the day when everybody, because I was always a recessive guy. I started with some incomplete dominant stuff, but I liked the recessive stuff better. I just thought it looked better. And so I was doing double recessive and stuff for a long time, but I was real planned it out, and you just look and you're like, man, not all of these things are that great. And you put pastel and spider and pinstripe, and next thing you know, it's all just basically like a silvery white snake with a yellow stripe, and everybody was racing to do the same thing, and I was just like, you kind of lose the essence of the snake, and they all look the same.
But
and the disappointing probably the most disappointing thing in the ball python hobby for me has been the lack of selective breeding, like William said, based,
sorry.
like for the sake of the selective breeding. Not everybody just cares about the gene, but as a guy who's had lavender balls, there's lavenders and then there's lavenders, and nobody seems to care if it's a good lavender or a bad lavender.
Lineage.
They just want to buy the snake, and I can only tell you, back in the day, I had some I had one of the original black pastels and het for Vin Russo leucistic, and I had 10 females, and I had 5 really dark females, and I had 5 really light females. And I didn't think I was a genius, but I bred the Vin Russo male to the light 5 females, and I bred the black pastel male to the black females, and I produced amazing black pastels, and I produced the nicest Vin Russo hets, and everybody was like, how come your het Russos are so nice, and your black pastels are so nice? And I was like, I don't know, because I wasn't a dummy, and I just bred it to the female I thought would complement it. Not, I didn't think that was like the most brilliant thing ever, but apparently that's something that the ball python crowd doesn't do much of.
Ryan,
There's a lot of throwing shit at the wall and hoping something sticks.
Yeah.
A lot of these people are just picking up whatever they can and just throwing shit together.
Yeah, no, I've never been good at that.
Yeah, as quickly as possible. Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Ryan. Oh, go ahead, William.
Well, I think as we said, when the storm or the dust settles, and can I have a question more for Emilio, since he's probably a bit more he is more tapped in with the ball pythons, at least the way I'm kind of judging the ball python market, when I hear new people saying, what are the big guys doing? It's kind of more, it sounds like it's starting to trend more towards that, because we got away from it, but I think people are starting to realize once you get double and triple and the visual recessives, it gets easier to make them. But what doesn't get easier is the palm pavement aspect of things, because you don't want to do a super cinnamon or a super the super yellow belly or whatever. You don't want to, or super spotness. You don't want to do those because they're either lethal, have problems, or they're just a white snake. And that sounds like it's the new thing, but in all actuality, that's just the new thing until we're tired of that. And generally speaking, when I see most pythons that have most animals that have morphs, once the morph craze hits a peak, and then it starts going downward until literally it's bottomed out. It's to the point of no return, I guess, to a certain extent. Well, then there's the people who keep with it, that genuinely get what they like, work on those particular looks, and when a resurgence happens, people forgot ball pythons were neat or whatever species it is at the time, there seems to be a spike. And then you get the people who are known because they stuck with a certain animal, like you could say Nick with the ivory stuff, and Botini with the golden eye stuff, or Kara with the just bloods in general. You see these people who stuck with something and saw it through, and now 20, 30 years later, they get looked at as those guys. Or, Ryan with the Aru green pythons, that's another one, and he's still not there yet. But I'm sure as shit believe whenever he does get there, all of you guys will think of him as the Aru guy, because he put the time and effort in, and he didn't chase these hot trends that people are all about now. He just saw through what he wanted to get to, and now he's the guy for that 20, I think the problem is when you start throwing on 20 or 30 years later, that just turns people off, because that's oh shit, that's half my life.
William, I feel like you're digging at the designer guys out there.
No. I'm talking about people in general. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say.
Listen, I'm
dig away.
I'm friends with both sides, okay? But I gotta stick up for my homie Marco.
For you'll be that guy for Biak. You keep doing Biak. I promise you'll be that Biak guy.
Fuck those designer guys. What am I talking about? I'm sorry.
There's a lot to unpack there, but you said some things earlier. That yes, we should be making beautiful animals. So the way I run my business and my hobby and my projects is I get into projects that I could foresee having different avenues and long-term impact. So I don't move on from my animals quickly. My animals stay long term most of the time. I'll move on from some males here and there, and upgrade males. But yeah, I think the way with ball pythons is you got to be making pretty stuff. And yeah, you have to have your projects. They have to make sense. There's certain things you have to avoid that are saturated, and you got to have mad love for it. That's pretty much it. And yeah, people are getting into other species as well. I'm one of those people, but I'm gonna tell you guys, I love ball pythons. I
love them too.
They're still #1 for me.
I can tell you from experience too with ball pythons, and why they'll always be #1 is because until ophidiophobe becomes not a thing anymore, or a very low on the totem pole, is there always going to be people that are afraid of snakes, and there's going to be a portion of those people that want to get over that fear. Rather it's their kid, it's typically their kids. Their kids want a snake, so they'll get their kids a snake. Well, usually when they want to get a snake, they want to get the smallest snake possible. You know, I know this from experience. I had a lady ask me, she goes, hey, I'm looking for a snake, but I don't want any bigger than 3 foot or whatever. And I said, well, the only thing I got close to that is like Antaresia, like Stimson's pythons. Well, she finally got to see him at a show and saw it in person, and she goes, oh, this is perfect. But then she saw how quick it was moving. It wasn't biting, but it was just real active, real quick. And I said, yeah, typically with, you know, like especially with the Antaresia, they're a little bit more active. They're more fast moving. And then she saw a ball python sit there lumped into a ball, just sitting there doing nothing. And she goes, what about that? And I go, well, it gets a little bigger, but a lot more robust, but it's a lot slower moving. You don't got to worry about that, you know, typically the speed like you would with a lot of other pythons. So just for that fact alone, I think just because people who do want to get over their fear, when they see a fast moving snake and their kid's getting it, they think that, oh, if this kid drops it, I got to catch it. And I don't want something that's going to out, you know, that fast. So
yeah. And also, you don't want them seeing you scramble and fucking look like you're losing your mind.
Yeah.
And I've seen that before, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're definitely not buying anything.
Right.
But yeah, I gotta tell you right now, man, like that's the #1, like not only icebreaker, but like when you're especially holding a ball python at your booth, and of course you have that person who's just there because their other friends there, but they've never seen a snake, they never touched it, and then they touch it. I think that's what makes everything go full circle. Like, because, you know, again, this future relies on not only the youth, but the outsiders looking in. I mean, I was an outsider looking in. I had no idea what this hobby was until I was 30 years old. So that's the case for so many of us. So that's why it's important. Ball pythons it's the gateway, dude. It's the way in here to realize it's not just ball python. There's some fucking really awesome shit that you could keep, you know? Go ahead, Emilio.
Well, to get back to the different styles of feeding.
Yeah.
Because I think
wait, time out. Keep that thought. I got to go to commercial break. I fucked up. My bad. All right, we're gonna get back to feeding, and then we actually had to bridge to the maintenance side of feeding too. So,
that's where I was going. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Sit tight, guys. We're gonna get this quick word from our sponsors, and we will be right back. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Shout out tonight's sponsor, and that is Jersey Guys Balls, father-son duo who are just slaying it in the ball python game. If you're into Sunset, if you're into Monsoon, if you're into Puzzle, this is the page you should be following on Instagram right now. Jersey Guys Balls are invested in some of the highest and most exciting projects in the ball python game today, such as Tornado and many other genes like Cosmos. So again, make sure you go check them out on Instagram. You can also follow them on YouTube, and definitely go give them a follow on MORPH Market. You can find all the links in the description below. And again, thank you so much, Brett, and thank you, John, over at Jersey Guys Balls. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. If you're in front of the line, cutting edge, high-end ball python projects, you don't want to miss this. Shout out to Teresa and shout out to Devin over at PRAGUE MORPHS, the heaviest hitters out of Europe, currently in the ball python game. If you're into the double, triple recessives such as Puzzle, Hypo, and other amazing recessive, incomplete, dominant projects, and make sure you head over to PRAGUE MORPHS right now on Instagram. Check them out on YouTube. You can find all the links in the description below, and many more updates with RGI and PRAGUE MORPHS to come. So again, thank you so much, Devin and Teresa over at PRAGUE MORPHS. Cannot wait for many more collaborations. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Shout out to tonight's sponsor, brought to you by ZooMed.
ZooMed is proud to be supporting the Trap Talk Reptile Network. At ZooMed, reptiles are our passion. For over 48 years, we've been creating premium foods, supplies, and habitats for reptiles and other exotic animals. We're a company made up of hobbyists that test our products on the hundreds of animals that we care for here every single day. Whether you're an established breeder or a first-time hobbyist picking up your first ball python, Zoom It has you covered with everything you need to keep your animals happy and healthy.
I'm excited to talk about this new product with Zoom Ed called the Slither Sense. It is a remote temperature and humidifying monitoring system, which we all know how important temperature and humidity is to your reptile. And for you to have remote access to your temperature and your humidity in your reptile room could really, really be a game changer for the longevity of you keeping reptiles. So guys, make sure you check out that product. Find the link in the description below. Click on it right now. Give me your feedback in the comments below. Let me know how you're liking a brand new Zoom Ed product. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Shout out to tonight's sponsor, and that's the one and only MORPH Market and MORPH Market Shipping. One of the biggest exciting things about the reptile hobby over the past couple years is MORPH Market Shipping taking everything to the next level. Anything as far as reptile purchasing or selling needs can all be done on MORPH Market's website, so I highly suggest you go check it out, especially if you're in the market of purchasing your first, second, or third, or fourth reptile. You can find a bunch of legitimate breeders on MORPH Market's platforms. They stand very tall on representing the best breeders we have in the hobby, so don't look anywhere else when it comes to looking for your new reptile. Not to mention, if you're looking for aquatics or your next plant, MORPH Market's a spot for you as well. Make sure you head over to morphmarket.com, and the best thing about MORPH Market's platform, you could ship directly from their website with MORPH Market Shipping. MORPH Market Shipping has saved this hobby millions of dollars as a whole. I myself saved thousands with MORPH Market Shipping last year due to their insanely cheap rates, so definitely go take advantage of these rates on top of the amazing customer service that comes along with MORPH Market Shipping. Shout out to Darian and Zach, and shout out to the entire MORPH Market team. So proud to be a part of this team. Thank you so much for MORPH Market Shipping and MORPH Market. So excited to announce this partnership, and so excited to announce new MORPH Market features that are going to be hitting the reptile hobby real soon, like live sales on MORPH Market. Thank you so much, MORPH Market and MORPH Market Shipping. All right, guys, we're back. Do me a favor, smash that like button. We're going to get back to this next topic, the Epstein files. I'm just kidding. All right, Emilio, why don't you take us away, take us on this whole other topic here when it comes down to the opposite side of feeding, what we're talking about, the maintenance side.
All right, would you guys say that it's important to continue the rhythm of feeding that, let's say, Ryan or one of the biggest producers out there, the way he feeds his animals is actually probably less than Ryan. Would you say that it's important to keep that animal on that same rhythm of feeding, because you could risk that animal? I think you're damaging the animal if those two worlds collide. Let's say the way we do things and the way the other breeder does things. Aren't we putting that animal at risk? Because one of that breeder messages the potential customer and says, "Oh, I fed this animal this much, but you can get it to this size if you do it your way in a year." I think you're really pressuring that animal and hitting that animal with a sledgehammer, pretty much. What do you think about that?
I mean, I can only go. I don't think it matters that much. Like I said, those females that I didn't, give much resources to, they were three years old, probably 800 grams. And when I flipped the switch, I mean, I fed them like you wouldn't believe. And they were, anywhere from 1,800 to 2,300 grams, probably no more than 8 months later. So
let me say this. The person I'm talking about had 3-year-old females at 400 grams and promised customers that they could get that animal to 1,200, 1,500, 1,800 grams in 8 months. I don't think that could be healthy for that animal.
Well, I don't think you should ever promise anything, because you don't know. Well, for one, you have no control over how that person does anything. Mm-hmm. Are they keeping them suboptimally temperature-wise? I mean, there's too many variables with live animals to be doing anything like that. But I can speak to years ago. I was selling a Lucy ball, and this guy kept asking me about it, wanting to buy it, but it was too small. I wanted a picture of it eating a rat because I was only feeding it mice, so I had to take a picture of it eating a rat. He still didn't buy it. Then like 3 months later, he contacted me again. How big is it now? And it was only like 10 grams bigger. And he's like, "Oh, what are you doing to that thing?" And he was all mad. And I knew the guy, so I said, "Look, I'll send you the snake, and if you're not happy with it, then don't pay for it. I sent him the snake, and because he was saying it was half the size of all the other ones that he had bought that year, and he got the snake, and then he called me, and he's like, this thing, man, it eats every time. It goes crazy. It eats. All the ones I got from other people won't eat. They're a pain in the ass. This one eats and eats and eats. And then 2 years later, he was like, this thing's 3 times the size of the other ones. And so, it can work out that way. Whether I would guarantee it or not, I would never guarantee it.
Would you guys? Well, William, I'll let you go, but I have another one for you. You want to go ahead, William?
Oh, sorry, I thought we were saying the other one. I'm kind of with Ryan. I think it's pretty. I've never really had. My question would be: would that animal just a shitty animal to begin with? Like, was it just a horrible starter? Did they cyst feed it to get it going? And one of those, like, where, especially back in the day, I used to hear stories people would assist feed an animal all the way up to breeding size. I've heard of it. There's some crazy shit.
That's some crazy shit.
I don't know why anyone would put effort into a snake like that. But
oh my God.
It's they would. I've heard stories like that. So, and especially since you said it was a large scale guy, I kind of wonder, like, because I've had animals where they were just small. Because I would, like, this is gonna sound bad, but I would just forget to feed them. So they would go months and months and months without eating, and then I would feed them. I tend to jump animals up on bigger prey items faster. Like, I'll put a 150 to 200 gram ball python with a small rat. I'll give them a big meal in comparison to most people would give at that size. So I'll jump them, but then I won't feed them for a while. I feed them till next time I remember or I forget I fed them, and I'll give them another big meal or something. And if I don't have big meals similar to Ryan, I'll just start feeding them a couple of smaller meals. It's not like it's real sporadic. It's I guess akin to more similar to what they would do in the wild. There is no real regimen. Similar to something Ryan always said is the biggest the problem with a lot of captive animals is we put them on schedules when they never would have schedules in the wild, and they're never used to schedules. So it kind of dooms a lot of them because we put them on schedules. And I get why we do, because we're real schedule. A lot of us are based off of our schedule. So, we don't have the luxury. Some of us don't, where we just can do it whenever or however often we want or something like that. Sometimes we have to set time to do it, especially if you have bigger collections.
I want to test Ryan's knowledge on this one. I'm not going to be shocked if he knows it, but who had this phrase robotic feeding? Where'd you hear that from?
Robotic feeding. I never heard that one.
Rico.
Oh.
Rico said on a video, one of his old videos on YouTube. I went on this crazy Rico fucking bender one time. I found out all these old videos that he had, and he was giving a lecture about, like, one of the things that he learned quickly of getting the chondros and the emeralds established. It was like the whole idea of feeding them weekly or like so often. It just wasn't necessary. He says, but your mind gets into this state of robotic feeding, and you just are just so used to feeding, you're not even paying attention to what you're doing. You're just feeding.
Yeah, I always say that if you can remember the last time you fed it too soon.
Yeah, dude. But also too, guys, like, one thing that kind of hit home to this topic here is, like, and Ryan was a fucking godsend when he came to teach me about the panels and how much over usage I was heating all my animals, even just my room in general was just so fucking hot. And think about, like, all the unnecessary heat that I was outputting. It wasn't because where I lived. It's because I had all this shit blasting. And, once you eliminate so much heat, you're eliminating so much risk. But then also when it comes to feeding, right? Like, you come into this thinking, I got to feed every Friday. I can't miss a beat. But actually you can, and you'll be fucking fine. You'll be all right if you don't feed this Friday. And it was also something where I realized, like, shit, dude, like, this ball python has a little bit of an attitude, a little bit of a spunk in its move. And that's because, it's hungry and it's just not ready for food, or expecting food. It's not there. So I don't know. It's kind of like the same thing. Like, people are just only coming in being told what to do, and that's all they know until they, go to the next level, I guess, or watch some Trap Talk episodes. I don't know.
Well, I think the hardest thing for humans is, we're mammals. We have to eat a lot. And so, we live in the modern age where we're not going hungry. None of us here have missed a meal. We're not, like, we don't know what real hunger is. Like, that is so foreign to our mind that we can't possibly, and so we push that on our animals that, because we can't fathom what these guys are capable of. And
Yeah, but it makes us feel good knowing that we fed our animals. It's more of like, cool, are my animals fed? They must be happy.
Yeah, they
I've
condition
always said that the reason why people overfeed stuff is mostly for them, because one of the ways that you get an attaboy from your snake, because it can't talk to you, can't tell you if it's happy. And so the way you feel good is like, woo, okay, it ate. It must be fine, it ate.
Ryan, I have 2 questions.
Yep.
First, you said it takes you a long time to breed your ball pythons.
Yeah.
So the question I have is, how long did it take you to breed your green trees? Because I would think it's longer, right?
No, all my pythons typically start. I usually start trying most of them around 4 years old.
Okay.
And then they usually don't start breeding till they're 5 or 6.
All right. And then the other question for both of you is, and again, I'm not a herpetologist, a vet. Listen, I'm none of that. But I feel like just like human beings can train and let's say the gym, right? And this might be funny and off the wall, right? But I think that in some ways, the way we feed our animals, our ball pythons, we're creating a rhythm, right? So I think that rhythm is going to grow that animal, going to get them to breed, in time, and get them that maximum growth, that genetic growth they could have gotten. I believe that if you don't feed it in the way we do in the ball python game, I think you're not getting that, and you're not getting the optimal growth, the optimal production, and then that animal that you're getting from a maintenance feeder, I believe it crashes because it can't handle all the grind that the others can. I believe there's like pretty much like muscle memory. There's digestive memory. There's effects on the digestive system. There's effects on the organs. I would say. I believe that's what we see, and that's what I see.
Digestion is actually really, really hard on a snake. People don't realize that, but they divert their hearts get bigger. They move the blood around. It is not, and if you've had a lot of snakes and you have a random death, it's almost always associated with a feeding event.
Feeding, yeah, so true.
So feeding, like we sit here and think feeding is nothing but good, but there are a lot of cases where feeding is not good. And I'm not using that as an excuse to not feed. I'm stating that there is an element of risk to feeding a lot, and every time you feed, there is potential for something to go terribly wrong.
Yeah,
and it usually doesn't. Thank goodness.
Especially with emeralds, right? I mean, I see so many cases with emeralds that just roll in dead, and after they had a meal or something, it's pretty fucking wild.
Yeah, I've had a lot of snakes over the years, and I would say 95% of just a random, like, why did that thing die, was within 24 hours of feeding.
Yeah, they probably tried to regurge. They could have aspirated a bit. Right?
Yeah, one of the snakes I had, it was a ball python, and it was eating a rat, and the rat's tooth like punctured through the side of its throat. Dude. And it bled. It didn't even choke. It didn't even eat the snake the rodent all the way down. I found the snake dead, a huge pool of blood, and the rat tail hanging out of its mouth. Like it just.
I've had that happen one time.
Yeah, something just went terribly wrong.
Yeah.
And,
fucking brutal.
Yeah.
I remember I did it, but I was feeding. It was probably. She wasn't very big. I mean, she probably had been like on the smaller end. She was a proven breeder, but on the smaller end. And it was one of those where like I didn't feed her for a while, so I decided to give her a big rat, like a big retired breeder rat. And she ate it, and she killed it, and then she was eating it. So I just assumed she was going to be okay. And then a few days later, I'm like, God damn, what is that smell? And then I'm looking around, and she's like, she died halfway through eating it. I don't know if it's, stress of eating. I think the problem is too. A lot of us we'll have one bad experience with something, and we just chalk it up to just, oh my God, we can never do that again. And you said something earlier, Amelia, that I wanted to touch on. When you say maximum size or size potential, ball python people don't do that anymore. And the reason why is because we feed small prey items, but consistently. You'll see fat ball pythons, but you don't see exceptionally long ball pythons unless it was from the era where we were feeding gigantic prey items. I think we forget that ball pythons are from West Africa, and they have eaten Gambian pouch rats, which is twice the size of a. I'm not saying they're eating the full-grown Gambian pouch rats, but they have eaten them before, so they'll eat really big prey items. So ball pythons have the potential to get really big, and I think we don't actually see their full size potential, and then we don't keep them long enough to see their full
I want to see their genetic potential. You said something earlier also about the eggs. In my experience, yes, some girls give you nice big clutches, but what I see in my older, bigger girls, because I have girls that are 20 years old, I have girls that are 17, 16, 15, they're still here. They're fine. I mean, I fed them once a week when they want to eat, and they're here. I mean, what I would say is I get bigger eggs from those animals. My average clutch is 6.5 eggs every year, 6.25. If I breed younger girls, I get slipped down to 6. I think you don't get that whole thing where you're getting bigger clutches. That's rare.
Yeah.
With my girls that have reached that big size, I'm getting big eggs, big robust babies.
Yeah,
that's something else we didn't bring up with maturity. You're getting better babies.
Yeah.
There is a genetic component to egg size. There is a genetic component to egg size.
Mm-hmm.
There are females that lay small eggs no matter how big they get, and I can tell you their daughters do the same thing.
Okay.
And there are females that lay huge eggs, and their daughters do the same thing. I had a female years ago one of my founder wild females, and that thing would lay like carpet python sized eggs, and she'd lay a lot of eggs. And her daughters, I raised up like 5 of her daughters, and every one of them laid similar sized eggs and a lot of eggs compared to I'd have similar sized females doing 5 eggs, and these girls were like 8, 9 eggs every time. And so there is some genetic component to the size of the egg. But you are correct that usually the bigger they are, you'll get bigger eggs. But there is going to be some genetic component to that as well.
Yeah, well, so at the end of the day, on that whole maintenance side of the feeding topic that we're discussing here, I don't know, Ryan, like I know you base things off those 3-year-old females, but I think what Amelia was getting at was like, imagine something, being alive for, less than 3 years, hardly ever fed, and then it goes in someone's collection, and then you smash it with food. There had to be some sort of risk with the stomach growth or something, right? Because I feel like the stomach only grows with the amount of food it eats. So if it's hardly eating, isn't that stomach pretty shrunken? Like, isn't it pretty small? And then it takes time, maybe. But I don't see how that could be like not risky by doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak off my experience, and those are some of the biggest females I've ever had, and they didn't, they were small until I wanted them to be big.
Yeah. Same with me. I've had females that are just small, and then whenever I decided, I think I'm going to try to breed you, and I hammer them with food, they just, I don't. That's why and you're not the only one I've heard that from, where they say they just get male or baby or animals that were just smaller than they were anticipating, and they just failed to thrive with them. I think there's so many components to that it's hard to just place it on one thing like maintenance feeding, because I think there's was it a crappy animal to begin with? Was it environmental changes too? I've had plenty of times where I've had animals that, like when I had my old room before I moved them into the building, I had some animals that were just shitty. They were shitty feeders for whatever reason, that environment in there. But when I moved them in here, they switched, and I'm sure I know other people, the car ride thing and stuff like that. So sometimes I wonder if that plays a role in it too. The environment just stressed them out, or and cause like a reverse where it could have been a decent feeder with them, and then ended up because I think there's a reverse where you've gotten a big animal or whatever average size weight that is for the said animal, and then you get it, and then it's just crappy for you. So I think we extrapolate one but not the other, because this one's this make-believe weight we have in mind for whatever size that is compared to the smaller one. So I think it can go both ways. I think it had to be a larger scale to kind of see like anecdotally, what actually could be causing that.
Well, I've had more bad experiences getting people's like heavily fed snake than I have their underfed snake.
I remember Vin Russo used to say, he's like, I always like getting females that were mostly neglected, because you get them in, you hammer them with food, and they'll breed for you that year a lot of times.
That's interesting.
When me and Tracy were building our collection with certain stuff, we would get select animals from people, and we always used to laugh because she'd be like, "Oh, we're getting this snake," and I'm like, "Oh, cool. What is it?" We would talk about it, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, and by the way, it's it's 800 grams and it's 6 months old," and I'd be like, "Shit. Well, why don't you just keep it for a year? Because it's not going to do. It's going to be a horrible snake for a year." And it was always like that. It was always, you'd get it and it would just go on the longest fast. It's been fed rats its whole life, and they just sucked, and we'd have to break them. Literally, we'd have to just break them down and get them on a realistic schedule.
I think it gets back to stress and assimilation to its new environment, new system, the way we do things. That's why I think that we condition the animal from the minute it hatches.
But I think you're discounting the fact if the snake, there's a component, if the snake had a lot of resources in its life and it's big for its age and it's overfed, and you move it, it can afford to
for sure.
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
can but a snake that didn't have those conditions, when it goes somewhere new, it typically isn't going to be a pain in the butt because it doesn't have the excess nutrients to fast for 6 months. And I think it's literally like a training thing. It doesn't realize that food doesn't come every week because it never got fed every week. And so if they grow up believing I better eat when I'm offered because God knows when the next meal's coming, those snakes eat. Whereas the ones that are like, oh, I can skip this week because 5 days later there's going to be another one. And if I don't feel like it then, 5 days later there's going to be another one. Those are, in my experience, those snakes are the ones that give me fits.
Yeah, in my experience, I think the conditioning and the overall, what was the word I used earlier, William? Courage or confidence?
Confidence.
I think the confidence these animals have that is built through time, through maturity, through the way they're fed, the way they're growing. I think all that is immensely important. And I think a lot of us, sometimes we're not thinking about that.
Well, I mean,
I sometimes wonder if by feeding constantly, though, too, is whenever you do get animals, because typically we feed live. Most of ball python people feed live. And when it's a live prey item, there's always that risk of, if I try to go after this animal, am I risking my life to do it? And if it's hungry, then of course it is, because it doesn't know if it's going to get that opportunity again. So I think in some ways, I guess it could be a type of conditioning, but I think it's more based off of its risk or willingness to take a chance on a prey item because it doesn't actually know when it's going to get it again, compared to one that's like, all right, I don't want to risk potentially damaging or hurting myself to kill this rodent. So,
Well, at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong answer. The reality is we all have our own ideas of what, if your goal is turning and burning stuff and you want to do it that way, then by all means, man, I don't judge. I don't care. People do you. And if you want your snake to live 60 years, well, you're going to have to do something different. So it just depends. It depends more what you want out of the experience. And I don't fault anybody for doing it their way. And I can only speak for myself. I know I have a hell of a time selling my snakes a lot of the times because I do it the way I do, and people are just like, "Oh, you must produce crappy snakes."
No
So,
way. I mean, I would never say that.
Oh, I dude, I
They
could
should-
I could show you my morph market. Like
Yeah.
people just like, "Oh my god, I can't." That
I
snake
can
is what's
contest.
wrong
I
with
have
it?
so many snakes from Ryan, and they're all done great.
We have a
So-
super chat, guys.
Yeah, one second before we get to that, I got something I want to say. So real quick on that topic with I don't even know, my mind went blank now. Thanks, Emilio. Fuck.
Sorry.
I literally had a good topic too.
Oh, damn.
Where's this super chat? Dude, $1.99. We don't share $1.99 super chats, dude. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. No, it's a joke. All right, the difference. What's the difference on ramp up year 1 versus year 3?
When they're talking ramp up, do they mean
I
like
don't know.
cycle feeding, or what are they?
I guess maybe like as far as increasing in food or like the size, maybe like when you step shit, like what's the difference on the food increasing with year 1 or maybe the size ramp up?
I think what he meant there was that Ryan was saying that he has ramped up feeding at year 3 instead of in the beginning. That's what he's asking.
Oh, so what's the difference between waiting at year 3 versus waiting at year 1?
Well, for me, the difference when I used to try to feed and grow is I had picky snakes, and it
Yeah.
was frustrating as hell, and it drove me nuts. And I finally came to the conclusion that most of my snakes breed between 4 and 6 years old, no matter what I try, and so I may as well do it the less frustrating way. And so that's just how I do it. I grow most of mine on mice only until they're probably 800-900 grams. And then I stick them in my adult room in a CB70, and I offer them rats. And I've only ever had maybe 2 or 3 that didn't just slam a rat like they'd been eating it their whole life. Where,
That's what I'm doing now too, man.
yeah, the rat people feeding rat babies to them, man, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know why people would do that.
We've talked about that a lot on this podcast in the beginning, especially. Yeah.
yeah. I get. Yeah, I have any issues I've ever had with snakes. Typically, were smaller species that I just had to feed pinkies to because they always had either constipation issues, runny shit. It just never led to good things until you got them up to that more mature prey item. So yeah, I'm with Ryan. I never got. Occasionally, like I remember certain species I'd have where they just, for whatever reason, they would kill and drop mice or whatever. So occasionally I had to give them rats and stuff just so they wouldn't completely wither away. But other than that, yeah, if I can, I'll opt out on giving them a mature prey item over an immature prey item.
Yeah, and I get why people started doing that. They believed since ball pythons are picky and switching them from rats or mice to rats is hard, so they thought if we feed them rats their whole life, then it'll be better. And it's just, I don't know, it's just another thing people came up with to try to what's really happening is you're just feeding too much probably, but they're trying to cover it up with a different solution.
So, guys, quick question. How would you feel if you were to buy a snake? Let's just say there's a comma in the price that you dropped on this snake. It comes in and it's not the size as described. Maybe a little bit under, more likely, right? Would that be enough for you to say I want to return the snake, or like what does that mean to you guys if you get a snake that's not the weight that it said it was described on the description?
Man, I never pay attention to weight. I'm gonna be honest, man.
I've never asked for weight.
Fine. I'm like, it's good enough for me, man.
I have never, ever in my entire life asked for a weight on a snake.
Yep.
And
I could give no fucks, basically.
Let me say, we're probably talking about 10 to 15 grams.
Right.
And it's not hatching, to be fair.
Right. But then again, we're talking about like as a whole. If you were to do that in the ball python game 2026, you're gonna they act like you gave them mites. Like it's a big fucking deal. It's a huge deal if that snake is not the exact weight, if not more, in the description. And that kind of shows you.
I'm not cut out for this new ball python world order.
No, you're not, buddy. Hey, but you know what? That's a good thing. I think that's a very good thing. Okay, I'll tell you
that. You're a big time breeder. You're a
not for ball pythons,
right?
Yeah.
You agree to have the animal shipped to you after you see a picture on a scale, right? You pay top dollar for the animal. I guess you get the animal. You probably regret what you paid for it. you take advantage of someone new, have them send it back, send a refund to you, and then a few months later, when the animal's a little bigger, and you see it on auction, you decide that you want to fucking buy the animal again. Okay.
Oh,
and
no,
you
no,
message
no, no.
them.
I wouldn't play that.
Dude,
I wouldn't
what,
even.
bro,
no.
what type of fucking world is that, bro?
Damn. I
Dude,
didn't know
this shit happened.
Well, how do people? Okay, let me like.
This is
When
crazy.
somebody looks at a snake and you can see it's literally full of shit, what do
Yeah.
they expect when it takes a shit and there goes 25% of its body weight?
What do you
Like,
have?
how do you?
By the way, the animal had 8 meals and ate twice for the guy. He sent the animal back. Then 2 months later, sees it on auction and wants to buy it again.
Dude, I'd probably refuse. I couldn't do it.
Dude,
People like that are
Yeah.
just people that are gonna turn and burn. Like they're just gonna be
what?
in it and then
Bro,
they move on to
I've
something
never
else.
seen some shitty shit like that, bro, in this game. Ever.
But are you surprised? It's ball pythons, dude. Like,
I've heard of some pretty shitty stories.
me too.
I've heard of people talking about a family member in a tragic accident just to get a discount or just to
I've gotten that too, dude.
get something out of it or something, whatever in their head they thought they were going to get out of it, you know. Other than I'm sorry that happened to you.
Guys, I'm real passionate because this happened to a friend of ours. It's like she's family. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, that is some real special needs shit. It's unacceptable, okay? And let me tell you, that's not how you stay at the top of the ball python game, bro.
By the way,
I
there's
don't
nothing
know.
wrong with special needs, okay?
Hey, what? Hey, that's okay, right? Shit
Listen,
like that.
I'm very slow on the uptake with the ball python stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm special needs in some departments, okay? So let's chill out.
I did another ball python podcast a while back, and I felt so lost. I had no idea what they were talking about in a lot because they're like asking about all these things and all these terms, and I was like, "What are they talking about?" Like I was so lost. I was just like, "Oh my god, I'm so out of it. I don't even know."
I think that's what gets the ball python community in trouble, though, is then they start looking at like they get so desperate for different mutations and shit that they start looking at other countries, not thinking they'd lie to them like U.S. people lied to them.
Jesus.
You know,
That's
I hate that. You know, like I like how we'll go to a different country and it'll clearly look like a morph we have here. Just name something different, and we just, oh my god, this is the newest thing. And then I go, do you remember the red ball? Do you remember there was a carpet python?
Yeah, they dyed it.
In Europe.
They dyed it. They dyed it with Kool-Aid, didn't they?
Exactly. Well, and they did it with a retic one time, the Bob. They did it with a carpet python. They spray painted it jet black and called it the Panther gene. Just because something, quote, is from a different country doesn't make them better or different. You know, I think that's the problem I see with new people. And I think this has always been a problem. This isn't like some new age thing.
People, yeah,
like,
it's people. It's just
they're
the people.
so excited and they're so willing to believe this guy's been in here 10 years. There's no way he doesn't know what he's talking about, you know, or he wouldn't lie to me or something like that. And then, you know, I don't know. There's so many genes, not so many, but there's genes today where I'm just like, dude, this looks like the same shit I saw 15 years ago.
Oh,
they
bro,
just
I
got
honestly-
labeled something.
all the time, me and MJ, bro.
Yeah, but
I
guess
can't
what?
even imagine trying to get into it now. I'd be like,
crazy.
holy shit. My mind would blow up.
And it's tough to even be excited to talk to somebody about getting in right now. Like it really is. As long as you're visually looking for that project and not looking for the fucking popular morph, you'll be in a good place because, like William says, quality sells. Like really good looking animals will always sell, regardless of the price. If you're shooting for quality, it's gonna fucking sell. And by going with that, you're not a part of the rat race, dude. The ball python game is one insane rat race. That's why a lot of this feeding shit that we're talking about, it's gonna go over so many people's heads, dude. It's gonna fly right over because they don't give a fuck. They want to hurry up. It's hurry. And if you don't hurry, you're fucking behind.
Hey,
You're behind the game.
hey,
I
Yeah,
think
my
that-
snakes.
they want to become Justin Kaboka in 5 minutes.
Dude, no shit.
5 minutes.
No shit.
And in all actuality, this industry can't handle multiple Justins. As
No.
much as people don't like to. If there were multiple Justins, this industry better be a whole lot bigger than it is because it
better
wouldn't
have China.
sustain that many people.
We better
You
have
know?
China's gates open. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, if China opens, maybe we can handle another Justin. But too many more than that, then I don't know if we'll be able to handle it. But I don't know. People have unrealistic expectations. This is something I think we can all relate to. Is when we looked at a mutation back when we were especially when we were new, we looked at a mutation and we go, man, I could take this to this. We had a vision for it or had an idea. Now we look at a mutation and we go, what would Justin do? And then there is no creativity. It's just what would the next big guy do? Not just Justin, but what would Bob Drew do? What would whatever big breeder do?
It's really Justin.
Well, the thing that blows me away is I've vended enough reptile shows, and I've had a lot of snakes on my tables over the years. And the people that aren't into snakes tell you the truth. And they look and they look at your table, and you could have the greatest combination ever, and then there's a pied sitting there. And the person's like, oh my God, that's the coolest snake ever. And you're like, there's an ultra male pied sitting right next to it. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, but that pied is way better looking. And you're like, why is the ultra male pied 2,500 and this pied's 400? And you're like, well, it's just, how it
You
works.
Want to know what a customer told me this weekend? Why is that snake naked?
Well,
yeah, just like that. I'm like, no, that's.
But then they don't remember the scaleless ball python. It's like, oh, no, that was the naked one.
Yeah. That's naked and confused. That's what that shit is.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man. Hey, look.
You gotta have a good reason for that one.
I'm gonna tell you guys this, man, and all three of you. I can see why you guys look at ball python keepers and breeders as like, oh, you guys ain't real reptile people. I can see that. I can see why.
I actually don't. I've told people I've probably had more ball python. Well, I know I've had more ball python clutches than anything else, and I've learned so much from breeding ball pythons. I don't. So I don't. I don't belittle ball python people. I don't.
Exactly.
There's a lot to learn.
There's a lot you can learn from ball python. I've learned so much from this man over here, where it was like, if you can breed a ball python, you can breed a lot of different pythons with the same method. It's just sometimes ball python people just take stuff further than it really needs to be. So I remember back in the day where there was the ball python people who fed pretty heavy, but then you had the other python people who did the opposite, and they would hardly ever feed. And then they wonder why they had shitty success breeding stuff, because it just wouldn't feed it enough to breed. Or if they did breed it, it'd be once in a great while. They just wouldn't, But if they want it as a pet, obviously no big deal. But if you want to breed it, you got to feed it to breed it in a way. Just not to the typical extent that ball python people typically do. There's a fine line in between both sectors, regular python people and ball python people. But I think that. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say just exactly to what you said, William. Like, you can learn from some of the best people in this hobby that work with just ball pythons. One of my biggest helps, mentors, and one of my good friends I have is Mark Bailey, 40 plus years, full-time ball python breeder. And that guy, mainly business and, that side of things, but even with breeding, it's insane what I've learned from that guy. So not all ball python breeders are created equal. And that's mainly because of the new wave that we have, which are the turn and burns, the ones who are literally trying to paint themselves something they aren't because they've only been in the game for 3, 4, or 5 years.
Going forward, guys, in my group, I'm advocating for maturity.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
I'm going back to
on your side. I've always said this. Maturity's on your side. You're good.
It's simple. Why? Yes, ball pythons are tanks, but what makes them different from every other species? You're not risking a chondro female early, obviously. Hognose, colubrids, if you risk them early, you risk egg binding and losing the animal. I mean, there has to be a connection to maturity with the ball pythons as well. There has to be, I believe it, and I'm going to advocate for people to take a slower approach going forward. I've been hinting at it for a year and a half with what happened with me, and I'm going to slow down as well. I'm just not going to play the game. I'm not.
Well, Emilio, you're an Exantic guy. I mean, you could just be the Exantic guy. If you work on making better looking Exantics.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you just at some point, the people I look at who are just moving so fast at such an elevated rate, trying to just go. at some point you're going to reach the end of the road. You know, we like to talk about how many combination potentials there are, but let's face it, how many of them are going to be white? How many of them are going to be dark? How many of them are just going to be patternless with little speckles? How many of them are going to be deformed, dead? I bet there's a higher percentage than we think. And if we keep worrying about like how many genes we can just add into something to get the next fix rather than working on the best example of this or what we consider the best example, because obviously that's very subjective to the individual, at least like with stuff like pattern stuff.
I mean,
dude, I'm with you. I'm building lineage. I'm taking my time to perfect the beat, like the song says, bro. Trust me.
Yeah, no, I'm a weirdo. I have ultramale bloodline. It's like I'm probably the only guy on earth that cares about the bloodline of my ultramale.
But you have some of the nicest ultramales I've seen ever produced. You and Marshall's ultramale line have just been like top notch. But it's because of the line, and I want to bring that, I want to bring that topic back up, because one thing me and Milo discussed is like the line of Exantic that's out there, right? I know which line I'm getting into, no questions asked, but like, how can people really get back to focusing on the line of something, especially if their head is already up with like cramming as many top-notch morphs, but if they want to revert back and figure out how they could get the best line, what's the best way to do that, Ryan?
That's where you made a mistake when you said back. The ball python industry don't want to go back.
There's no going back.
Going forward, but the problem is when you selectively breed, you're just making it harder on yourself by adding a bunch of genes in it than focusing on the base gene itself, and then steadily, you can work up from there, but having a good baseline of like, this is a look I like, and then every time I get something else that either elevates it or even looks a little bit better, I keep that animal, move out my older stuff, then raise them, and it's just endless. You just do that, and it seems, most people they don't look at that as progress in the way ball python community today looks at that, and it's not to say you can't add genes to it. But I will say, if I have those good bloodlines going, if I do buy some other animal that isn't a part of that bloodline, I have a better chance of making better looking animals than someone who has just whatever looks they have or whatever fixed looks or,
Some of us are still doing it, man. I'm telling you, there's quite a few of us that are still doing it.
A bunch of the people I noticed, like 10 years and over, those guys, if they're still in the ball pythons, tend to really keep
the good line.
The problem is that some of the people doing it are calling it a new gene.
Yeah.
But whatever, that's another story.
I think one of the aspects today is everything is so readily available that there is no reverence. That like when I got into this, just to see an albino ball python was something. Like I paid thousands of dollars for het albinos, and so when I first made an albino ball, I was just like, wow, like, oh my God, it meant so much to me. And I had so much reverence for those snakes. And like ultramales for me, a funny story, Tracy at VPI had the original burgundy albino back then before anybody knew it was an ultramale, whatever. And I remember going to her house and I'm like, that is the coolest looking snake I've ever seen. I want that. And the snake was a real pain. Like, it did not adapt to captivity very well. Took her a long time to breed that snake. And every time I would talk to her, how's the burgundy doing? How's the burgundy doing? Like, I was all about it. And after many, many years, I finally talked her out of that snake. And I literally have the founder wild-caught burgundy female.
Damn, she's still alive?
Yeah, she's still alive. Yeah. And
wow.
I think Tracy bred her, 3 times, and I think I've bred her 4 times, and
no
maybe
way.
5, and I'm trying to breed her this year.
Right.
So we'll see. It's but that snake, when I look at that snake and I look at her offspring, because I was the person I proved out the burgundy albino. I beat Tracy to making. I raised up the first hets Tracy made, and I produced the first one, and I still have that snake. Those snakes just mean so much.
Exactly. There's another element of compared to most pythons where it's like certain lines you get from a reputable breeder, like with carpets, they had like Price line, LASIK line, certain stuff like that. You coveted those animals because they came from those particular people. And like you said with the burgundy, and there's stuff like that, but that's lost today. It doesn't, there's less of that, desire for the history.
Most of my snakes really mean a lot to me because I've had these projects for so long that the idea of even seeing, to get to this point today, I was dreaming about it 20 years ago. I've made their grandparents, their great-grandparents.
Yeah.
Like, I've raised these snakes. So
You-
they just mean a lot to me.
You
And
look
sometimes
beyond
when
the
I get
aesthetics.
down, yeah, I get down on the ball thing sometimes, and I think, man, I should just get rid of these things. And I'm like, man,
I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I'm not
but
alone.
I'm like, I love them. I've
Me
got.
too. I gotta keep them. I gotta keep
There's
them.
so much. They were such a part of my life, and I did so much to get to where I am now. I think I would be heartbroken if I got.
I want
rid
to
of
tell
them.
both of you, there's still a lot of us out there that think just like you, Ryan. I think just like you, bro. I have those founder animals still. I still have them here. I think the guys that make it past the 5 to 7 year mark and kind of really figure out this game and become really passionate about it and not just think about the money, I think they become us.
Yeah,
you know?
it's hard. I mean, it's just. I think it's. There's still just a hard aspect to it, is that we didn't. I mean, like if you got into it today and tried to dream of something nobody's made, that's really hard. But when I got into this, everything was new, and so everything was a dream.
Time.
And so it all, there was only one way to get there. You couldn't buy your way into it if you wanted to.
I mean, but does it have to be new?
No, it doesn't have to, but I'm just saying I can see why the attitude today is different than, say, like myself.
I know what you could breed to get back to that moment. Designers. It's always new, bro. Ryan, it's always new. It's so good. I can send you some
man,
stuff,
I would hate myself. I'd jump off the roof.
Hey, Ryan, it seems like you make everyone feel some type of way.
Oh, well.
Like the green tree guys.
Just by speaking.
Guys, the ball python guys, like.
Well,
in my early days of getting into it, I was that ball python guy. I got addicted to the ball pythons. I followed like the Bush League Breeders Club, the Reptile Radio days. That was one of the first podcasts out there. You hear all these legends and stuff like that. People back then that were the Justins in those eras, and you follow. And a lot of us, as we got into it, it's like, oh my God, all these different morphs, and you get real morph fixated for a while. But then after a while, I meet someone like Ryan over here, where then he kind of brings you back down to earth and realize that they're just snakes in boxes. It's not that they're not cool, but they're not these
not doing it.
pedestal, like they're gonna get you a mansion and a yacht and all this stuff. And then there's this as I gotten older, it was like Ryan and Nick. Like whenever I would hear their stories on old podcasts of like, they go to Australia, they go to Indonesia, they do all these I call it the step beyond just keeping. And then you start appreciating where these animals came from and the countries they've came from. And then there just becomes a whole nother aspect of this that makes it interesting. And when you do finally get to see that animal that you've worked with, or that even gave you the lifestyle you live today, you appreciate a lot more when you finally do see that animal in its natural environment. And it's like a full circle thing. It's
I'll tell you right now, my next full circle moment is when I go into the bush with Ryan. When I
let's go.
When I pack up and I'm there with him and Ari or whoever else, that's when I fucking know. But guess what? I'm not there yet. Okay, so
you're there. You're almost there.
No way, bro.
You just gotta take the leap, man.
I need to know what kind of food the resort serves. I need to know how.
No, man, that's if you got. We got to get you and Bill and Marshall.
All right, we'll do it.
I think Marshall's down. I got to get Marshall.
Marshall's down. I'm the one that I'm such a fucking homebody, only because I have a right to be. I have 2 kids. I have the wife, so I'm like, I can only do like 3 days before I'm getting super homesick and I want to be home. But
sometimes you got to be gone so you can come home and love her better.
Yeah.
Ow! Got it, Ryan. There's nothing wrong with my love. Okay? Jesus.
Isn't that what Tupac said?
It's true. You can't
already talk about Tupac.
Yeah. Dude, by the way, hey, newsflash: Ryan loves Tupac. I swear to God.
Let's go,
bro. This guy knows the lyrics. Okay, I'm telling you right now.
He's in the car. He's like,
he's bumping, bro. Yeah. So it's a huge thing, bro. Hey, I'm gonna let you handle the wrap up question, Emilio. What do you got for William and Ryan?
Damn. I don't have. I have to think about that one. Do you have one?
Yeah, I'm always loaded and ready. I was gonna
Yeah,
hook
bro.
you up.
I don't have one because
All right.
I think we touched on everything. I mean,
All right. So okay. So my wrap up question for you too, man. How do people who've already gotten used to their set ways, if they are listening and they're like, I do want to slow things down, I kind of want to reconsider. What's the best way to pull back? You think?
Well, for me, I guess I would first say is what's their motive for it. If they feel like they're doing something wrong, then fix it. If they're not, then don't. I mean, I only change things myself based on circumstances and observations. I don't really do it based off, necessarily totally what other people are saying. So it's, if you feel like you're tired of picky eaters, then there's things to do about that. If you're going for longevity, then there's things to do about that. But if otherwise, if your snakes are doing fine and you're happy with things, then I mean, by all means, keep at it. Like I'm not, it's just you got to decide for yourself what your interests, motivations, goals, whatever, and then there's different ways to get there. There is no one path to walk.
Yeah.
What about you, William?
Well, I think the echo what he was saying is I think that was the reason I agree with him. I go, do what you want to do. I have no qualms with whatever you want to do. It's just when you hear a story or hear what me or Ryan do, it's not that it's wrong. It's just different. And I think, a lot of times, especially when I hear new breeders on the block, sometimes I think the new breeders think, well, if it's not done this way, every other way is the worst way you could do it possible, or it's neglect, or it's like you're mistreating this animal. And that's what really spurred me to want to do it, is to let them know that, no, there's many other ways of doing it. And this is what's worked for us. It may not work for you, but, like Brian said, unless you're having problems with something, then don't worry about fixing it. Or if you're okay with those problems happening, some people just, the animals that do die, some people just chalk it up to it is what it is, or so.
Yeah, do what you got to do.
Right.
Do you want to touch on that, Emilio? That question, as far as because you're in that position now. You said that you over the last year you've already put in some thought about maybe not eating much.
I'm gonna adjust. I'm not breeding younger females just because they show a little bit of follicular growth. I'm just not doing that. I'm going back to what I used to do. Third winter, I try. If it doesn't happen, it's that fourth winter. That's what I do. But I do breed males at 700 grams at a year old, and I've had a lot of success doing it.
Don't quit. I mean, listen.
I'm just saying it's worked for me.
You.
Throughout my 20-year time of breeding ball pythons, I pushed one and lost one. That's it. I mean, I'm careful with the males. So.
Well, shit, boys. What a great episode. You guys are amazing. William, you nailed it, bro. I think this was an episode that needed to be done, and we done did it. We done did the damn thing, buddy. So I appreciate you, William. Guys, TJW Exotics on IG. And then Ryan, he gets a pass next month because he won't be doing the first.
No. I can be here next month, beginning of next month.
Thursday, the first Thursday?
Yeah, it's the following month that's the problem.
Oh, got you. Okay, well, never mind. Well, you're going to see Ryan on the first Thursday for the GTP sub-series that we have. It's amazing. Getting a lot of great feedback, and I appreciate everything you do, Ryan, and also William. Thank you for the support. And I want to say, dude, I think historically, we don't know the numbers on this. I don't think anyone out there has listened to more hours listened on a Reptile podcast than William. I think he has the championship belt.
Dude, I can quote shit that Ryan said from, like Ryan used to say, hey. I think one of the ones that'll blow your mind, MJ, is I remember Ryan used to equate you can learn a lot from breeding, say something like a blood python is real similar to a green tree python. You get them big, fat, and hot, they don't breed as well.
Yep.
Yep. See, I remember that. That was
2014. People all the time. Like I always tell people, black-headed python eggs are like cooking chondro eggs. They're just bigger, but the principles are the same. Yep. Like it's you can learn a lot from breeding any python.
And you can also learn a lot from listening to a guy like him.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you guys coming on with us and getting to know you better. Ryan, we met, but we didn't talk much at the zoo.
No worries.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate you guys coming on, and William, getting to know you as well. Thank you, man.
Yeah, you too, man.
Always
All right.
fun to chat, Snakes.
Yeah.
Guys, yeah, this, we'll have to we'll revisit this too. I mean, we can easily keep going for another 2 hours, but I got to cut off time and I got to respect my wife. So you guys are amazing, dude. Again, go follow TJW Exotics and my man Malik here, Reptiles. Give it up. It's a wrap for the homie William and Ryan Young, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, boys. What an episode. Hey, have a good night. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Right.
Take care.
Later. Tupac. Did you believe Ryan loves Tupac? I bet you never had that on your bingo card.
I should have asked him what his favorite song was.
Oh, it's true, huh? Because I'm in my head, I'm like, dude, these guys had multiple hot seats.
It's gonna tell me a little bit more about him.
Yeah, dude.
You know?
Yeah.
I'll message him later.
But
Ryan, if message me later, tell me what's your favorite Tupac song, bro. Is it Hit 'Em Up?
It's the Machiavelli album. He likes that album a lot.
I love that.
Yeah,
album,
it's one of the
bro.
hardest albums for sure.
Yeah.
He knows his shit, bro.
Damn, bro. Machiavelli's a really violent album. Holy shit. Ryan Young, let's go.
Damn. But okay, what was your overall thoughts on tonight's episode? Do you think we hit it?
It was great. It showed 3 different or 2 different perspectives. I mean, mad respect to those guys. They have crazy experience. There's 2 ways to do this. Maybe 3, 4.
Yep.
So,
But it's whatever floats your boat, man. Whatever works for you. And there's so many different options out there. So go after it.
I just feel like whatever's being done has to be continued with the animal. That's me. That's all. So.
Yeah. Well, guys, drop your comments. Let me know what you guys thought also out there. Appreciate all the viewers. But do me a favor, give it up. It's a wrap for the homie Bill Areno Reptiles, ladies and gentlemen. Big E.
Thank you. Good night, man.
Have a good night. Thank you, Emilio. Appreciate you, man. And thank you to everyone out there who watched. If this was your first time listening, before you exit, if you're not subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button. It does a lot more than you think. Helps push this network out to people coming into the hobby wanting to learn. And as you guys could tell by the guests that we had on, we bring on the best of the best here on the Trap Talk Reptile Network. Everyone in the chats, you guys are amazing. Enjoy the rest of your night, okay? Catch you here tomorrow for All the Treat Tuesday. Calcaline everything. It would have been better if Ryan was still backstage, but he's not. He's gone. Designers is the topic for tomorrow's All in the Treat Tuesdays. And look at that lineup, dude. Holy cow. John Irby, Mark Hager, Patty Holmes, of course, with me, Marshall and Bill. This is going to be one for the books. But yeah, it's all we have on this episode of New Breeder on the Block recap episodes. Please check out all my sponsors in the links in the description below. Appreciate all the love and support. Catch you guys here tomorrow, and I'm out. Cheers. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Shout out tonight's sponsor, and that is Jersey Guys Balls, father-son duo who are just slaying it in the ball python game. If you're into Sunset, if you're into Monsoon, if you're into Puzzle, this is the page you should be following on Instagram right now. Jersey Guys Balls are invested in some of the highest and most exciting projects in the ball python game today, such as Tornado and many other genes like Cosmos. So again, make sure you go check them out on Instagram. You can also follow them on YouTube, and definitely go give them a follow on MORPH Market. You can find all the links in the description below. And again, thank you so much, Brett, and thank you, John, over at Jersey Guys Balls. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Shout out to tonight's sponsor, and that's the one and only MORPH Market and MORPH Market Shipping. One of the biggest exciting things about the reptile hobby over the past couple years is MORPH Market Shipping taking everything to the next level. Anything as far as reptile purchasing or selling needs can all be done on MORPH Market's website. So I highly suggest you go check it out, especially if you're in the market of purchasing your first, second, or third, or fourth reptile. You can find a bunch of legitimate breeders on MORPH Market's platforms. They stand very tall on representing the best breeders we have in the hobby. So don't look anywhere else when it comes to looking for your new reptile. Not to mention, if you're looking for aquatics or your next plant, MORPH Market's a spot for you as well. Make sure you head over to morphmarket.com. And the best thing about MORPH Market's platform, you could ship directly from their website with MORPH Market Shipping. MORPH Market Shipping has saved this hobby millions of dollars as a whole. I myself saved thousands with MORPH Market Shipping last year due to their insanely cheap rates. So definitely go take advantage of these rates on top of the amazing customer service that comes along with MORPH Market Shipping. Shout out to Darian and Zach, and shout out to the entire MORPH Market team. So proud to be a part of this team. Thank you so much for MORPH Market Shipping and MORPH Market. So excited to announce this partnership, and so excited to announce new MORPH Market features that are going to be hitting the reptile hobby real soon, like live sales on Morph Market. Thank you so much, Morph Market and Morph Market Shipping. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Shout tonight's sponsor brought to you by ZooMed.
ZooMed is proud to be supporting the Trap Talk Reptile Network. At ZooMed, reptiles are our passion. For over 48 years, we've been creating premium foods, supplies, and habitats for reptiles and other exotic animals. We're a company made up of hobbyists that test our products on the hundreds of animals that we care for here every single day. Whether you're an established breeder or a first-time hobbyist picking up your first ball python, ZooMed has you covered with everything you need to keep your animals happy and healthy.
I'm excited to talk about this new product with ZooMed called the Slither Sense. It is a remote temperature and humidifying monitoring system, which we all know how important temperature and humidity is to your reptile. And for you to have remote access to your temperature and your humidity in your reptile room could really, really be a game changer for the longevity of you keeping reptiles. So guys, make sure you check out that product. Find the link in the description below. Click on it right now. Give me your feedback in the comments below. Let me know how you're liking a brand new ZooMed product. Thank you for all the fellow support. Thank you so much for anyone who watches the Trap Talk Reptile Network. Hit that like button. If you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. You'll be notified of every new episode dropping here out of the network 7 days a week. And also by hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, it pushes this network out to other new keepers coming into the hobby. So by you doing that, it does more than you think. So thank you so much again for all the support. And if you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button. We're doing big things over here and we really appreciate it.